Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Well, it's over.
And it's over now.
This is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
And I'm Sally Gutcher.
And here we are to do it. To do the thing. To finish it. When did this book come out? 2005.
Woof. Let's see, in 2005 I was 10 years old.
I was 12 years old, I guess.
Yeah.
That math was pretty easy, and it took me an embarrassing long time to do it.
Dog.
I was just thinking about how I was in 5th grade, so by then I would have already been acquainted with the Wheel of Time series.
Dang.
And might, in fact, already have begun reading it.
Ambitious 12-year-old.
Well, Cambria, my best friend, was carrying them around, and she was the coolest person I knew, so...
Yeah, that's fair.
I really needed to.
Yeah, obviously.
I believe Robert Jordan died in 2008. Or perhaps 2007. I'm not sure. I remember learning about it in the middle school library, so I know it was
sad.
around that age. And Branderson took over several years after that. I don't know what the exact timeline is. We should probably look that up for documentarian purposes.
For the oral history of Wheel of Time.
But the last things Robert Jordan wrote about were a real tribute to his legacy, and that it ends with Suroth getting dragged away to be tortured.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going out the way he would have wanted.
He was committed to torture porn to literally his dying breath. I like it when there's an about the author bio. There's 2 different ones, one that was written pre-death and one that was written post-death. And in the pre-death one, which is in this book, it says, he has been writing since 1977 and intends to continue until they nail shut his coffin. And I'd like to modify that slightly to, he has been writing torture sequences of women specifically since 1977 and did continue until they nailed shut his coffin. And perhaps in the afterlife, he's still up there or down there. Or, maybe it's a lateral move.
Maybe it's just a lateral move. Maybe he's just in whatever the after space is.
Yeah, wherever Bruce Willis went at the end of The Sixth Sense.
Yeah. If he died in 2008, I hope he got to see Mamma Mia before he passed.
I can really tell you've been writing a blog about Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia's on the brain, baby. It's never not on my brain, but...
What else came out in 2000? 2008 was...
2008 was a year.
Certainly a year. Hold on, this is going to be the whole episode. I don't care about my 5th grade.
There's not really a whole lot to say that we, once again, haven't already said.
First, let's verify that when he did, in fact, die. Nope, 2007.
2007.
September 16th, 2007.
Dang.
Okay, Google. Top songs. 2007.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a trip down memory lane.
Apologize by Timbaland.
Oh my.
It's too late to apologize. Wait, no.
Is that not
That's
it?
One Republic.
Oh, that is One Republic.
What's fucking Apologize by Timbaland?
I've ever heard it.
More importantly, Thanks for the Memories by Fall Out Boy,
slaps.
which has some of the gayest lines ever written. Crank That by Soulja Boy.
That's another.
Woo!
Buy You a Drink.
It's
a good one.
Boy, I can't even recognize some of these. Bleeding Love by Leona Lewis is on here.
That song's a banger.
Woof.
More Fall Out Boy.
Yeah. That was when they were big. Shut Up and Drive by Rihanna.
That is an absolute classic. There is a lot of Timbaland on this.
Shadow of the Day by Linkin Park.
I don't have that tune right, but it's a good song.
Hot 100 singles. I think this was also the year of Umbrella by Rihanna.
Yeah, Umbrella, Irreplaceable by Beyonce.
Mm-hmm.
Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood. Hey There,
Jeez.
Delilah.
Hey There, Delilah. Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne.
Hey,
You, I don't like your girlfriend. Fergalicious.
Oh, that's a classic.
That's a real tribute to us because we love that.
We love that song.
Yeah.
I think I've referenced it on the podcast about a dozen times.
We've specifically said it should go in the Wheel of Time soundtrack.
Yeah, I believe that.
You Plus Your Hand by Pink, the first song I ever heard about masturbation.
Yeah.
It had to be explained to me. I was pretty sheltered back in those days. Let's see, top movies. 2007. Woof. Knocked Up with Seth Rogen. Ew.
Blades of Glory.
Oh,
Hot
Hairspray.
Rod.
Hot Rod, yeah, a classic. I've never seen it. I don't know why I say that.
It's a pretty funny movie. I don't know how I would feel about it now, but
One time my brother
it.
and sister were watching Hot Rod, and my grandma insisted on watching it with them. And they said it was the tensest hour and a half they've ever
Hot Rod's not the
experienced.
worst one you could watch with your grandma, I guess.
Juno featuring Michael Cera and Elliot Page.
Yeah.
I think they should make a remake of Juno where Elliot Page gets Michael Cera pregnant.
Uno reverse.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, I don't recognize any of these movies.
Oh boy.
Action movies.
Action movies. Oh, The Seeker, which was the incredibly bad adaptation of The Dark is Rising, a book we have covered on
Yeah.
We Don't Watch Outlander, our side podcast. The Bourne trilogy ended.
Oh, God.
I know. Oh, Stardust, one of the actual best movies of our generation.
That's a good one.
And, of course, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Oh, wow.
The end of that National Treasure,
National
Book of Secrets.
Treasure.
Okay, I could look at 2007 movies all day, but I guess I do have to say what happened in Knife of Dreams.
I guess.
So, Khalid, we were talking about him last time. You remember, real bootlicker of a man. Khalid rides up to the camp of the Band of the Red Hand. He's like, I'm such a badass. All the guys are such badasses. We're ready to die at any moment. My serving man, my racially coded serving man is gonna sneak away as soon as I identify Tuan and let the others know. And I guess that's supposed to be a source of tension, but it immediately goes away, so.
Yeah.
More defamiliarization. He's like, oh, there's so few men here. This must just be one of their camps. Of course, we know that this is it, baby. The whole Band of the Red Hand. Talmanes rides up. He has a very sexy description.
Yeah.
Karita's like, he's got a weird haircut, but he's clearly not, a dandy, I believe is what he says.
He's clearly not a dandy. Wrong.
He was no Popinjay, though.
Popinjay.
He says he wore the same dull green breastplate as the common soldiers, and his eyes were hard and expressionless. That's our Talmanes.
That's our boy.
Fucking.
I love him.
Yeah.
I know this is another running bit, but I think Talmanes is such a good character.
In these dark times, we have to cling to the things
Yeah.
that we love, and Talmanes is it for me. Khalid boldly is like, take me to Tom Maryland. And Talmanes is like, why in the fucking world would you want to see
Like-
Tom Maryland? Okay, far be it from me to judge.
Yeah, Talmanes, a perfect, polite nobleman, is like, okay.
Oh, Worm, you want to see Tom? Okay, whatever. I don't...
Tom's
Tom's
like
business is his own.
doing knife fighting with Noel or some insane. They're just like doing old man things.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I'll track down Tom where he's, I don't know, playing bingo. What do old men do in retirement?
Yeah.
I mean, Tom is doing the equivalent of bingo, but for the intellectuals.
Oh, yeah.
Which is he's playing chess with a Ludra.
Yeah.
Khalid describes this as a very domestic scene, which is a pretty hilarious defamiliarization because, of course, we know these people are familiar with each other in that they're hanging out together constantly, but most of them fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
So I guess that actually does make it an incredibly domestic scene.
It's just like a real family.
It's just like a real... Who says found family has to be people who like each other?
It's just a bunch of people who hate each other.
Tom and Eludra are playing chess. Noel and Oliver are playing snakes and foxes, of course. Edgianan and Julin and whatnot are there. And Kareed is like, well, Tom Marilyn, you led a fine campaign, but we finally tracked you down, so, you know, give her up. And Tom's like, excuse me?
What?
As they get there, the Aes Sedai roll up and freak out because the one Damon that Kareed has in his company is a former Aes Sedai who has been so completely brainwashed that she is no longer that. So pretty depressing to have that just sort of lingering in the background and no one making any attempt, besides Jolene of all people, to rectify that situation. But Jolene comes up and is yelling about it. Then, of course, Matt, Tuon, and Seleucia ride up. Oh my gosh, I forgot. Satalanan is there, and Kareed is also like, Satalanan? What the? And she's like, oh, hello.
Hi.
Guy who stayed at my inn 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, imagine if you saw the guy who you saw at the hotel front desk.
Yeah, and you're like...
Of the Best Western. Or I guess I shouldn't discredit Satalanan. Of the Hilton.
Of the Hilton. Of the Ritz.
The Ritz.
Of the Ritz.
So that's pretty funny. Anyway, the Aes Sedai are all yelling, of course, and causing a commotion, as women tend to do. They're just so uncontrollable.
Women are just so emotional, you know? Women be shopping.
Women just be doing women things, you know? Shopping, yelling, crying. Getting their period blood.
Yeah, just...
I don't know. I regretted that as soon as I said it.
That's okay.
But I'll leave it
always good, to be talking about menstruation.
Sure, yeah.
Normalize it.
No matter how I feel about it in retrospect.
Yeah.
Then Matt rides up with Tuon and Seleucia, but Matt immediately is like, everyone de-escalate. I will de-escalate this situation by yelling at everyone, and because I'm a man, that works.
Yeah, apparently.
And Kareed's like, what the heck? Isn't this Tylan's toy? He does have a pretty hilarious line about it. It's like, as if being the queen's plaything was the most important feature of him. Like, that's the only name that he's heard. And I'm like, Kareed, that's a personal problem of yours.
Just because you don't view other people as human beings.
Yeah. And then he has a sick burn on Matt that's like, he's not handsome enough to be a fucking sex slave. And it's like, Kareed? / Robert Jordan, who's clearly speaking for Kareed? Why, A, would you be like, Matt's ugly? When we all know that his looks are off the charts. His natural charisma. His ooze of charisma. But also, it has nothing to do with looks, you guys. You guys are so weird.
Yeah,
Abuse and looks are, like, completely parallel lines. And that they don't ever touch. Or
what
maybe
did you
it's
say?
The opposite.
Abuse and looks?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about how beautiful you are. As if, whatever, stupid. I also, I really don't know why Robert Jordan has on multiple occasions been like, Matt's pretty ugly.
I feel like he's mostly done it through men's points of view, and I feel like it's the same way in which he's always like, men always say about other men, women would consider him handsome. Or I don't consider him handsome, and either way, those are both being like, I'm not gay. Like, he just simply can't have men comment on other men's looks without quantifying it, that they're like, it's not sexual at all.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. You're right, instead of it just being like a value-neutral presentation of like, Matt is of average height and a pretty skinny guy, and he's got brown hair. To look at another man and notice what he looks like is obviously something I need to clarify is not coming from a place of being gay.
Yeah, it's got the real no homo vibes that were so prevalent in 2003 or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
I know I already looked it up, but...
Oh, Matt.
5.
Congrats on being a little ugly. That's the secret to great success.
I know, listen, yeah, some men that are a little ugly are actually the most attractive.
Yeah,
That's the secret.
That's the secret. You
Women want a guy.
just want him to be a little weird looking.
Yeah, we don't want an airbrushed,
No.
Marvel,
No.
hairless, glistening man. Those are terrible. Give me a man who's just a little weird looking.
Yeah, I just want to be a little
And
weird
has a
looking.
personality.
I just want to be like a little freak, you know?
Yeah, I just want like a little bit gremlin vibes.
Yeah, I just want to be like a little bit of a weird looking gremlin. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's my baby.
Be sexy. That's
I'm trying to think of an example, but so much of the media is saturated with like Captain America straight out of his pod.
Anyway, enough about Matt's looks. After Matt, quote, de-escalates, unquote, Creed talks to Tom, and Tom is like, you're actually mistaken. This is the guy you want. Creed's like,
No, it isn't.
there's no way about this. And Matt is like, I know that you're bluffing about what you just told Tom, and that you only have like 300 guys, because I'm not an idiot, and I can easily take you out with my guys, so... And I also don't believe you that people are about to advance on our position, so my scouts say something different. But all of that's beside the point. Can you get Tuon back to Ebudar? And Creed's like, yes? Is this a trick? And Matt's like, no, it's not a trick. All the Shanshin are out to kill Tuon. Are you a good one / Tuon? Do you trust this guy? And Tuon's like, yeah, I trust him. And Matt is like, okay, well, great, pack up your things and go. And Tuon chooses this moment to publicly marry Matt in front of everyone. And Creed, it would have been so funny if Creed faints the way Aes Sedai always do when they hear a shocking piece of news. But tragically, he doesn't. Because Robert Jordan's a coward.
Yeah. Why can't Creed be a little bit of a delicate fainting goat?
A rope. Creed, the fainting goat.
Yeah.
He's great at the military, except for when he faints like a ghost. But we're very supportive of him.
He's great at the military.
He's great at war, military.
No, it's perfect. He's great at the military, except when he faints like a goat. Creed, in case you didn't know this, we don't respect you.
No, why would anyone? Anyway, Matt's like, excuse me, could you tell me why you just chose to marry me? What that's about? He's like, I didn't even think you fucking liked me, let alone loved me. And she's like, well, obviously I don't love you. Don't talk crazy. But I had this I talked to an Aes Sedai, this is the big reveal, where she's like, I talked to an Aes Sedai before he landed in Ebudar, and she had this prophecy about a man who will marry you and capture you and also set you free, and the foxes and the ravens and blah 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 blah, and you just finished the prophecy by agreeing to let me go, just like the Beast does in Beauty and the Beast, you know? The good Disney version, not the weird remake with Emma Watson. No offense, Emma, or maybe some offense.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was your fault, but I don't like people participating in dumb Disney cash grabs. Anyway, it's like in the good one where Belle realizes that she loves the Beast because he let her go back to be with her father.
Yeah.
So that's what true love is, you know?
When you get released from captivity.
Yeah. When after a period of captivity, you are then released.
You have to wait
on your captor's terms.
Yeah. The bad part about this is that you don't know at which point in your captivity you may or may not be released. So is the man holding you hostage your true love, or is he genuinely holding you hostage?
Yeah, you just sort of have to be like complicated feelings until then.
Yeah.
And then when he does set you free, you're free to consummate those complicated feelings by immediately declaring your, in Tuon's case, willingness to enter into the bonds of matrimony.
Yeah.
Despite a lack of feeling. Anyway, she's like, what about you? Why did you marry me? And he's like, oh, because I got this dumb I also got a dumb prophecy, but from the Snake and Fox people. And she's like, shut up.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, we're off to a great start.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm leaving. He's like, okay, the next time I see Shanshan, it'll probably be on the opposite end of a battlefield, which was a promise that was not fulfilled. I wish Matt had fucking fought some Shanshan.
Yeah.
But alas, like, he's like, you're not my enemy, but your empire is. And she says, nor are you my enemy, husband, but I live to serve the empire. Tuon does not live to serve the empire. Tuon is the empire.
Yeah.
That is how imperialism works, and how imperial bodies are embodied in the people leading them. Like, that's not just propaganda, it's what these people are actually legally constructed to be. So that's an empty sentiment both ways, guys.
Yeah, like, the idea, like, Matt saying you're not my enemy, but your empire is just, like, a fallacy. Like, it's a statement that cannot be true.
Yeah, you can't separate those two things.
Yeah.
So
it
would have been funnier if they just were married and were like, well, you're my enemy, we're also married, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it still wouldn't have been great, but at least it would have been honest.
Yeah, like, okay, this doesn't actually change anything. It's some dumb, like, two households shit.
But Tuon and everyone takes off. She asks Kareed what his opinion of Matt is. Kareed is like, yeah, he's good, and also he's in love with you. And Tuon's like, oh, worm? Well, I don't care about that, but let's go to Abu Dar and shave my head. We then get technically, while Kareed was still there, they got news that a group of Altaran soldiers led by a single Shanshan was had located Matt's position or something like that and was after them, or they had noticed the Death Watch guards and were after the Death Watch guards. So Matt sets up his battle plan to allow for Kareed and most of his guys escorting Tuon and Seleucia to escape. He keeps back a few of the Death Watch guards so as to convince these people that they're actually still chasing the Death Watch guards.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this classic Matt battle. It's very tricksy. It involves, this sort of almost play acting of having his soldiers build half a ditch or half a little wall and then look like they're in the middle of building it so as to give the enemy a false sense of security.
Yeah.
There's flanking, there's their new fancy crossbows. Aludra is not using her full cannons yet, but she still has some interesting, she's basically exploding fireworks at people.
Yeah, very proto-grenade.
Yeah, the Aes Sedai use the power once they feel in danger, quote unquote, so the battle plan itself is, like, fine. I'm not as enamored of reading about dying horses as
it's
Robert Jordan is about writing about them, perhaps.
Like, it's very satisfying in the way that, like, you love to see a plan come together.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying, but it is also just, like, I don't know, I think it loses. I think Matt's whole arc loses everything once he's officially married to Tuon. It's just, like, this is only a downhill slope. Like, you are already fighting for the Shanshan in this instance, and you're going to keep doing that, so your whole genius just starts to feel really gross.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, it's not great.
So it doesn't really hit the way it used to. The way it did only
a few
chapters ago.
Yeah. The only relevant thing about this is that Matt is talking to, I have no idea how to pronounce this, Musenge, who's the Death Watch Guard lieutenant left by Kareed, and this guy keeps referring to Matt as Highness, which Matt is curious about but doesn't question until the very end of the chapter. At the end of the chapter, when all of these people and their horses have been slaughtered. I know, it's so sad.
It's a lot of horses.
I know. Poor Vanon's the only one who's like, they're poor horses.
I know.
They identify the body of the Shanshan, or rather the Death Watch guards identify the body and are like, oh ho ho, very interesting. We need to take this to Tuon. And we, the readers, are like, what? Is this yet another villain I was supposed to keep track of? Or at least I was. I
had no idea who he was.
Ready to go on Wikipedia to find him out, but it will be revealed in the next 2 pages what's going on there. But Matt says to Musenge, oh, you don't need to call me Highness, like, my name's just Matt. And this guy is like, oh, well, now that you're married to Tuon, you are Prince of the Ravens, so Shanshan nobility. This is also marked by Matt in a Perrin-esque move, sticking his hand out for Musenge to shake. Musenge does not because of the nobility thing, but it's again a gesture of, like, camaraderie between or toward the Shanshan that is completely out of place.
Yeah.
Or rather very much in place for the project of this series, but out of place morally.
Yeah.
So Matt dissolves into hysterics because he hates nobles.
Nobles.
And that's where we leave him. We hop over to Ebu Dar, where Suroth is once again in a power struggle with some rando general. She's getting a report on the situation in Ered Doman and Terabon. This is all very, like, tangential to what's actually going on in this scene, so you kind of have to, like, piece it together, but it sounds like Suroth's original plan at the beginning of this book to just send all her people to Terabon was immediately countered by Iturald.
Yeah.
In that he withdrew into Ered Doman, the Shanshan followed, and then more of his forces came out to flank them. So the Shanshan are in the middle of getting fucking annihilated over in Terabon and Ered Doman. Again, you love to see it. Iturald is the only real person in this series.
I know. He's the only one with any fucking moral high ground.
I fucking love him. Short King.
Yeah, absolute icon. Legend.
But Tuon returns, now has the news that her mother is dead, and is like, look at what we found, and it's the head that they got at this battlefield, and is like, this guy tried to kill me, and Suroth's like, oh, well, I'm so sorry that one of my servants tried to kill you, and Tuon's like, he never did anything without your say-so, which is circumstantial evidence, to say the least.
Yeah.
And is like, arrest Suroth, and now she's gonna be the naked servant lady, you know, like...
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I mean, first of all, gratification, etc., etc. This is just a way, like, this section literally ends with them cutting her clothing off. So, once again, women reduced to nudity, servitude, etc. for what? But also, it's just sort of, like, pokes a hole in the logic of the Shanshan Empire, I think. That they're like... oh, everyone has its place, and all of those places have a certain amount of dignity, you know. Even these servants are an intrinsic part of the Shanshan Empire, da-da-da-da-da. Except that this is, like, how people are punished.
Yeah.
So you can't just have, like, people who are born to this caste, or whatever, and then also people are punished by being put into this caste. That's inherently saying...
yeah.
These people are of a lower and insignificant social strata.
Yeah.
An abused social strata.
Yeah.
So just a little thing there. Then we pop over to Pavara. I know, random. Who is on a stroll into the woods surrounding the Black Tower with, like, 5 other Red Aja, Aes Sedai, whoever they could scrounge together to enact this mission of bonding warders. They are met by some Ashaman scouts, including some teen from the Two Rivers.
Oh, yeah.
Who's an All-Seen, I guess. We know that surname. They are then escorted into the Black Tower itself, which we now see as, like, a full palace in the style of the Saldean palaces, aka Mazrim Tem's personal preferences, I guess. And then we have the most, like... Mazrim Tem is Demandred scene of all time.
It's so absurd.
Like, there's things like Pavara being like, what's with the black and red color scheme? Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. And we know that, like, that's Forsaken colors. Da-da-da-da-da.
So stupid.
And just him being, like, super evil and posturing. He uses the phrase, let the Lord of Chaos rule, which we last saw given to Demandred, I believe.
Yeah, at the beginning of...
Book 6.
Yeah.
Not last saw, but that's where that phrase originated was in a conversation between Demandred and the Dark One.
And isn't Pavara like, I've literally never heard that phrase before, or something?
Yeah. He's like, you know the old saying, let the Lord of Chaos rule, and she's like, I never heard that. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it's obviously not a common thing. But yeah, they're like, Mazrim Tim's like, what are you bitches doing here? Basically, directly that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we figure fair's fair. You bonded some of ours. We want to bond some of yours. And some guy's like, Ran Asha bonding Ashamon? And Mazrim Tim uses the power to give him a concussion and break his shoulder or something like that. His skull's cracked and his jaw's broken. So just, outright physical violence and abuse. Yeah,
also
right
denies him healing.
Yeah, he's like, if he lives till nightfall, we'll heal him then. So, if I were Pravara, this would be like, okay.
Red Flag City, baby.
I'm leaving, actually.
Yeah, you know what? Never mind.
You know what? I'm good.
I'm
this
solid.
Plan, I know I sunk some cost into this, but that's a fallacy. I can hit the bricks at any time.
Yep, and I'm
going to.
I'm electing to do that in this moment.
Sadly, that is not what they do, and Mazrim Tim is like, okay, fine. And they're like, you're not even gonna, like, negotiate with us or anything? And Mazrim Tim's like, no, you're right, fair's fair. So obviously there's an ulterior motive here, and it's that the more channelers are in the Black Tower and under Mazrim Tim's thumb, the better, because he can turn them evil.
Mm-hmm.
But we will not start getting into that plot until possibly Towers of Midnight. Maybe a little bit in the Gathering Storm.
Plot to introduce in book 13, 12 War 13.
I know, it's been, like, weirdly alluded to, but it's also been just kind of like Mazrim Tim's weird posse. And it's like, yeah, I believe Mazrim Tim has a weird posse because every, like, bully on the block acquires followers. But Pavara enters this room and it is hundreds of people. So it's just, like, a little unclear how big the Black Tower even is.
Yes.
And then what exactly the breakdown is between the bad guys and the not-so-bad guys.
Yeah.
The gleeful war criminals and the not-so-gleeful war criminals.
Yeah, it's... Even just the idea that there's, like, a palace at the center of the Black Tower, like, what does that mean in terms of size? Like, actual land.
Like, I feel like it's been at most a year since Rand started the Black Tower.
Yeah.
In our day and age, if a palace was constructed in a single year, it would be an engineering marvel.
Yeah.
It would also be likely to fall apart in the first earthquake.
Yes, just like our townhome.
Just like our townhome.
Essentially
which
made of
probably went
cardboard.
up in a month and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like, yeah, has he been using the Ashaman to do the labor of this palace? Like, it's just insane.
The whole thing is very confusing. His follower count is very confusing. I mean, it fits in line with the Wheel of Time never telling us exactly how many bad guys there are.
Well, giving us many, many, many bad guy names that we have to keep track of. Yeah.
Yeah. So, who knows what's going on there? Like Emily said, it's very much like, this is Demandred, and smart readers will pick up on that. Because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, because we're in book 11, and Demandred is now the only one unaccounted for.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be Mazrim Tim, you know?
It's gotta be. And it would have been really satisfying if it was.
Yeah, it would have just been like, okay, that's normal and fine.
But no, Demandred is on another continent or whatever.
In Fantasy Australia or something.
I want to go to Fantasy Australia. That sounds pretty nice, but... You know.
So that's Knife of Dreams. It was a bad book, you guys.
It was a pretty rough one.
I didn't enjoy it very much.
Yeah, Knife of Dreams doesn't have a lot of... I know we've said this, but this sort of... The notorious slog at the center of the Wheel of Time does not have a lot of, like, entertainment value. Or a lot of, like, pleasure value for me, at least. I feel like there's not really a lot of, like, joyful moments to hold on to, except for, like we mentioned with Talmany's, like, instances of side characters that you really enjoy, or a few very cool moments. It's just kind of like, what was the point of all of this?
Yeah, despite the fact that all of these plots are pretty much wrapping up in this book, there's not even really a lot of pleasure in, like, having them be done.
Yeah.
I think that's partly because we know that there are 3 more books after this.
Yes.
So, like, we know that the sort of feeling of being finished or nearing the finish line is kind of a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just not very good.
And I just don't think there's a lot of satisfaction with the plots ending. Also, like you said, because we know that we're just ending plots to begin new plots.
Mm-hmm.
Ed?
Yeah, there's also a certain amount of, like, all of the plots are ending.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, one or two plots being wrapped up in Crossroads of Twilight, and another couple of plots being wrapped up in Knife of Dreams, and, you know, having sort of, like, a weaving of plots, rather than just sort of, like, this terminus point. And I don't know how much to blame Robert Jordan for this, because I think his original plan was to end in the next book.
Yeah.
So there was a certain amount of, like, yeah, he was trying to wrap things up, but I also have total faith in Brandon Sanderson's assessment that, like, it would have been impossible to
absolutely.
wrap up in one book. 3 books? I don't know. Could have been 2 books, I think.
Yeah. I also just feel like within the Knife of Dreams, this, like, section of plots, like, Malden, the Tuon kidnapping, whatever is going on with Rand, Egg in the White Tower, like, all of these plots feel really unnecessary.
Yeah, the Andoran succession
Yeah, the
line.
Andoran, that's the other one that's just like, why did we have all of these? I don't really see how they contribute to the main plot. I'm just tired.
Yeah, most of them don't contribute to the last battle. I'm trying to think of, like, here are things that happened because of those plots. Because of Perrin. The problem of Massima is more or less taken care of. Which again could have been done myriad other ways. The big thing is that Perrin establishes a relationship with the Shanshan, which, as we have stated multiple times, is not requisite to the last battle, however much Robert Jordan wants it to be. That's pretty much the same with Matt's plot here in Floundering Around in Altara. We do get a couple of important things like Eludra's invention of cannons and things like that. The sort of reveal about Moiraine and the Tower of Genji. But for the most part, it's just about establishing a relationship with the Shanshan Empire, and Tuon specifically.
Yes.
The Andoran succession plotline is nothing. There's nothing going on there that needed to be 4 books long.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. And I guess we've had so little Rand over the last few books anyway that I can't really... A lot of Rand has just been sitting around talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, after the cleansing of Sidon, like, why are we even checking in with Rand if he's not doing anything?
Yeah, so it's just been a lot of, like, waffling. Plots that Robert Jordan set up to do almost to just, like, delay. Almost delaying tactics until the last battle. It's very odd.
Yeah, and I know we're being pretty negative, so I apologize. I assume the type of people listening to our podcast are self-selecting because they also have complicated feelings about the Wheel of Time. I know we're being really negative, and a lot of this, at least for me, is coming from, like, my personal tastes of not enjoying this. As well as, I think, some pretty well-founded criticisms about, like, how do you craft a story. And I guess the best I can say is, like, Robert Jordan was writing the books that he obviously wanted to write. And you know what? That's nice for him, I guess. Don't know if these are the types of books we should be platforming with all of the aforementioned torturing of women. But, you know, at least he got his platform, I guess.
Yeah.
Or not, I don't think he should have maybe had a platform. At least he got the creative space that he wanted.
And boy, was it big.
That's me trying to find a positive. I don't know if that's even valid, but...
My positive is that it is here now, sitting on my lap, purring.
Yeah, happy guy.
He's quite nice. Okay, so that's it, everyone.
That's
my computer's mad and our heat just kicked on, so...
That's because it's cold.
Better wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yes.
For sticking with us through book 11, perhaps through 11 whole books, if you've been here that long.
Well, 10 whole books.
10 whole books, you're right. I forgot. Yeah, if you're still wondering where that one was, we just didn't cover it.
We just didn't do Path of Daggers.
We're not gonna. Imagine how we'd feel right now if we were just finishing Crossroads of Twilight.
We legitimately might have to take a break. We would be like, podcast is on hiatus.
Woof. But as it stands, we'll be picking up with The Gathering Storm, not next week, but the week after. But thanks to Glenna McKenzie for our theme song. Thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our followers on social media. keep an eye on our website for the reading schedule for The Gathering Storm. That'll be an interesting one for me. I usually put those together, and I can't quite remember if Brandon Sanderson changes the structure of chapters significantly. I do think he puts more points of view per chapter, so that'll be interesting. In a desperate attempt to quicken the pace of the narrative.
Brandon's like, dear God,
I know.
we gotta get things rocking and rolling.
I think that's it.
Yeah, we'll be back. Dawn of Brando Sando.
Yeah.
We should call him by his name. The Dawn of
Yeah,
Brandon
especially
Sanderson.
if we get an exclusive interview
Where
with him.
Brandon is, I think he's better than that.
You're right. I certainly think he doesn't have the time for that.
Yeah, he's a busy man. He's got like 8 books coming out or whatever.
No, he's just a dude who has 9 books on the roster at any given moment.
How does he do it? Brandon, I can't even get through the day.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a sign off?
I do. Since we talked so much about the suffering of women and periods, just 2 of my friends got IUDs placed in the last 2 weeks, and both of them are having serious complications from them.
Oh, God.
Due to the way they were placed and the care that they are receiving. So just think a little more about reproductive health and reproductive justice, and
It's like Mad Max out there, you guys.
it really is. And as it is now Women's Month or whatever, Women's History Month,
I think it's International Women's Month, or is it
something like that.
International Women's Day or something?
Yeah,
Maybe that
International
was the
Women's
other
Day was
I don't
this
know,
week.
Venmo us either way. We're women.
We are women. And it's also a very good time to learn about the history of gynecology and the ways that Black women were tortured and experimented on to give us...
The subpar quality of healthcare that we have today.
Yeah, so we're talking negative. That's a negative note to end on, I guess.
Just have Ed at the end.
Just
here.
have Ed purr into the microphone, baby.
You probably won't be able to hear him over the heater, but he's purring.
He's purring. He's
And
got
he's-
his pink belly showing.
He's angry at us for picking him up. All right, everyone.
Ed hates being picked up.
Have a good couple weeks.
Bye.